This video is going to be an introduction to Desmos, which is a free graphing website. You just need to go to desmos.com, and then you don't have to make any kind of account. You can just click on Start Graphing. So I'm still learning how to work this, and I have figured out a few things that I wanted to share. The first thing is that you can just plot points right here on a graph. So in the book, it talked about the relationship between people and the number of hands. So if you wanted to plot a point, you could use parentheses right here in this top left-hand corner and say that I'm going to plot point 1, 2, which means one person has 2 hands. If you want it to label your point, you can click that box, or you can leave it unlabeled. And then we can go down to the next row and say that 2 people have 4 hands. Enter takes you to the next row. 3 people have 6 hands, and so on. So you can see over here, you can just click and drag your workspace. You can see that it's plotting those points, and if you wanted to get rid of what you typed in, you can just push those double arrows, and you've got this these points plotted. You can zoom out so you can see it bigger, or you can zoom in. There are also some graph settings that you can mess with here, like you could get rid of the negative numbers, the negative part of the axes by just changing it to 0, or you can add a label like the x-axis, that's the one on the bottom, so that was the number of people, and the y-axis was the number of hands. And then if you get rid of that and zoom out, you can see it kind of puts it in a weird place, but you can see people is labeled and hands are labeled. If you wanted to kind of compare that relationship to another relationship, instead of plotting individual points, you can put them in a table. So I'm going to get rid of these points that I've already put here just by clicking the X's. And this plus sign at the top lets you add other kinds of items. So I'm going to add a table. And first I'm going to plot some points that have to do with hands. So one person has 2 hands, 2 people have 4 hands, 3 people have 6 hands, and 4 people have 8 hands. And if you want to change the color, you just hold down on that color spot up by the Y. So I'll make hands all be red. And then if I wanted to add another table to do maybe fingers, I could say one person has 10 fingers, 2 people have 20 fingers, 3 people have 30 fingers, and 4 people have 40 fingers, and you can see that it's plotting all those points in green. And I can get rid of that, and you can't see it, but all the hands points, but if you zoom out, you can see that in green are the points that represent people and hands, and red represents the people and, sorry, green is people and fingers, and red is people and hands. And so you could just zoom in until you could like see all the points that you wanted to be able to see. If you wanted to then draw the line that represents what happens here, even though we know those are discrete points, you could put the line in so people could see how it was growing. And so just down below those 2 tables, you can click there, and we can say y equals the number of people times 2, sorry, let's do 2x. And then I want to make it red by holding it down and changing it to red. And I might even, I think we talked about this in class, I might even make it a dotted kind of line to show that it's not continuous data. So now I've got the line that represents that relationship, and I could do the same thing with the fingers. Y equals 10x because there are 10 fingers per person, and I'm going to change that color green so it matches that one. And then I've got those 2 relationships showing. We can see that because it's so much steeper, it grows a lot faster. The other thing that I've played around with graphing is the cell phone example. So I'm going to just get rid of all these points that I've plotted. And so the first cell phone example was if you have to pay $10 for the starting fee, and then you pay 10 cents per, so 10 cents per minute. And then the other cell phone plan was just y equals 15 cents per minute, and there was no starting fee. And so then you've got these two lines that it automatically graphs. And if you zoom out, you have to zoom way out, but if you zoom out, you can see that right here at the 200 is where they cross. And that's how in the book they were talking about if 200 minutes is where you would have the same exact cost. And I've figured out that if you click on one of the lines, so I clicked on the red line just now, then it puts a point in of a place that it intersects something. So you can see that they intersect right there. So those are the two things that I've figured out so far on Desmos, and it seems to be a pretty handy tool and easy and intuitive to figure out and just mess with.